I used to be the nicest guy in the room, and I kept getting ignored, friend zoned, or cheated on. When I got into a long-term relationship, the sex dried up. But then I learned one thing that changed everything, and that is how to create sexual tension, how to create emotional tension to keep the polarity strong in an interaction with a woman. So in this video, I'm going to show you what it really is to create sexual tension, why avoiding it destroys attraction, and how to start creating it in a healthy and sustainable way, whether you're in a long-term relationship or dating. I'm Jonathan White. I've helped thousands of men from around the world learn to master their sexual energy to create an epic life. Make sure you hit subscribe to stay notified when new content like this drops, and make sure you get my free ejaculation control ebook. There's a link in the description of this video. So people are having less sex than ever. It's actually quite concerning when you look at the statistics, how much sex is declining in the current generations. And I think we're just going to see this get worse and worse over time. And there's many reasons for this, but I think one thing that's very relevant, especially for men, is that they've forgotten how to be polarized, how to create polarity in an interaction with a woman, how to create tension, which attraction is driven by. And so this is a skill anyone can learn. When you get good at this, you're going to notice a night and day difference in your interactions with women and definitely in your sex life as well. So here's the thing. Attraction is driven by tension. What is causing attraction? It's the unification of polarities, yin and yang, plus and negative, male and female. There's an opposition there. There's a difference. There's an opposite attract dynamic here. Think about your early interactions with someone you were romantically involved with, physically involved with, sexually involved with. There's an uncertainty in the beginning. You know, first you're talking, you're flirting, and there's that sexual edge. There's a bit of a spark there, but you don't know where it's leading, and it makes it that much more exciting for both of you. That's tension. It's a very different feeling than when you've been in a relationship with someone and you're very comfortable and you know what's going to happen next. You interact in the same way, you initiate sex in the exact same way, so things lose their newness and get purely habitual. And what's extremely common for a lot of men, you know, the nice guy type of pattern for men, is to avoid any conflict, to avoid any tension, almost at all costs, because any sort of friction feels extremely uncomfortable for the nice guy. And just to, review this if you're unfamiliar, the nice guy pattern essentially means that you're a people pleaser. And first of all, I have to say, I was the poster child nice guy. I was always had the biggest smile, the most agreeable person. Meanwhile, inside, I was a turbid mess of bottled up anger, frustration, resentment, hidden underneath this smiling exterior. That's a very common pattern for a lot of other men. So the dynamic is that you use niceness as a way to try to get the things that you want. Like, well, if I'm just really nice to this person, they'll be pleased with me, they'll accept me, and they'll like me. Or if it's a woman, she'll give me sex because I'm being nice to her. But it has the opposite effect. It tends to neutralize your interactions with women. You no longer feel like a masculine man. You feel like this, just a bit stiff. You feel like a doormat. You don't have any integrity, it feels like. You're just overly nice. And now, this is not to be mistaken with being genuinely kind. I think that kindness is a virtue and is something that we should all practice. But there's a difference between being genuinely kind and having an exaggerated niceness as a way to constantly neutralize any potential conflict, any potential tension that arises in your interactions. It's important to be aware of this and to keep a certain degree of tension in your relationship. And this often feels uncomfortable and unnatural for nice guys. So you have to practice it. You have to understand and constantly be watching yourself, noticing your subconscious habitual patterns that you have when you're interacting. So what is sexual tension? Again, in this context, it's a charge of anticipation or uncertainty between you and someone else. It's a certain pressure, that something that wants to be acted on and relieved in some way, often moving into physical contact or sex. But the magic happens in that tension. Because again, the tendency is to want to get through the building of tension, get through foreplay, whatever it is, and just get right into sex. Or get into resolution of the conflict, if that's the underlying thing. But the more you could be aware of this, working with this tension and being able to cultivate it. Because when you lose tension, when you lose any of this slight bit of sexual friction in a relationship, that's when things dry out. That's when it turns into a sexless relationship. It gets extremely predictable. You lose attraction, and it's the typical sexless marriage, sexless relationship. Happens all the time, unfortunately. So this is important because attraction is based on polarity. And within polarity, there arises tension. Without tension, there's no polarity. Without polarity, there's no attraction. Without attraction, there's no sexual excitement. And sexual tension, it easily becomes lost when you're in close proximity to someone. I learned a lot about this for being in a long-term relationship. I've been with the same woman for 9 years now. We got married 4 years ago. And I came into our relationship having a lot of nice guy patterns. Always nice, always agreeable. Indirectness, it's another big nice guy pattern. Like not clearly stating, this is what I want, this is what I desire, but just kind of like indirectly, well, if I do this, then she'll understand that what I really want is sex and she'll give it to me. But for years, I had this pattern. Eventually hit this point where I had a lot of sexual frustration because my woman was losing sexual interest in me. And I had to really look at, okay, why is this happening? Like I have all these technical skills of like sex and sexual energy, but it's not doing me much good because she doesn't want to have sex with me very often. And this is what led me to first read the book, No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover, which is required reading for all men. Great book. And that opened me to a whole world of like, oh, wow, no wonder women have lost interest in me in the past because I was being a feminized man, essentially. I was overly emotional, very indirect, very passive aggressive. And so things quickly changed when I realized I needed to change my interactions with women and to focus on being more bold, being more direct, having strong boundaries, just being more masculine, essentially. So I think sexual tension is really obvious when you're in the initial stages of a relationship. When you're dating, you're with someone brand new, you don't know them, they don't know you, you're just getting to know each other. Your initial conversations, your initial physical interactions, it's very exciting because it's all brand new. So it's pretty easy to create sexual tension in that scenario. But even that, a lot of men, a lot of modern men have struggles with. Some practical tips I'll share if we're like the dating stage of things is to don't make it about, I need to make this person like me, I need to act just the right way for them. You're making it about them, you're putting them on this pedestal, and it creates all this anxiety for yourself because you have to like wear these masks and like manipulate your behavior in just the right way. Like maybe if I say this, maybe I'm supposed to say that. And everything's contrived. You're extremely tense, you're extremely nervous because you don't want to say the wrong thing. And they can feel this. They feel that you're like a nervous wreck, and it also feels like you have something to hide. And often there's a lack of trust with the dynamic of a man who's like that. When you realize dating is not about getting them to like me, it's about me saying, are they a fit for me? And if you simply allow yourself to be yourself, to have fun, to enjoy the conversation, enjoy the dynamic, be spontaneous and not filter yourself, not restrict your behavior, but just allow yourself to be yourself, you see, are they a match for me or not? Be more direct. If you find them attractive, tell them, I think you're attractive. I think you're hot. Let's hang out sometime. Be very direct. And you'll know much quicker how they actually feel about you. It's going to amplify, accelerate the development of the relationship. The more direct you are, the more you get to know, oh, this is a fit or it's not a fit. Realize that every interaction you have is an opportunity to create tension, to create polarity. And here's a couple questions for you, just to see where you're at. You're probably either A or B. So are you the A type of man? Do you lead? Are you constantly leading in your relationships by making decisions and giving commands? Maybe commands is a bit too strong, but you're giving directive. You're saying, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what I want to do. Let's do it. And do you clearly hold your boundaries? When your partner's behaving badly, when they're just like, toxically nagging you and insulting you, do you say, hey, this is unacceptable. I'm not going to put up with this. So are you that type of man? Do you lead and do you not put up with bullshit, basically, all right? Or are you the B type of man? Are you constantly asking questions and saying, well, what should I do? What do you want to do? What should we do? What's next? What do you, what are you? What do I, what are we? Just constantly, what's this? What's that? What's next? And what this really is you're not leading. You're asking someone else to lead because you don't know what to do. You're not confident enough to make a decision to direct, so you want someone else to be leading. Do you find yourself immediately neutralizing any sort of conflict that arises between you and your partner by shrinking down, by saying, okay, I won't do that again? Do you make your voice softer and say, I'm sorry, you're right, I'm sorry, even when you know that you're not in the wrong? So that's kind of the B type, right? The A type is more masculine. The B type's more the feminized man who's unconfident, unable to direct himself. So it's very important to see the distinction. One is very strong. I'm in a state of leadership, I'm making decisions, I'm directing. The other one is I don't feel confident leading, so I need your input, tell me what to do. And anytime there's conflict, I'm just gonna like shrink down and disappear so that, okay, let's, I don't want any conflict, I don't want any problems. Again, this is the feminized pattern. This is the nice guy pattern. It kills polarity. You're gonna get no respect from women, and you're gonna quickly diminish any sort of sexual interest by having those types of patterns. So the more that you practice leading, making decisions, and also not being afraid to challenge your partner. I'll give you an example. Just this recent week, I think last week, my wife and I needed to know what time she was leaving, just for in the morning she had some things to do, and just for the logistics of the day. I forget exactly why, but I kept asking her, hey, I need to know what time you're leaving. And she was being very rude, kind of nagging, whining, like, why are you asking me? The typical thing. And in the past, I would have probably reacted by getting emotional myself, being like, why are you being so mean? You know what I mean? Kind of the whiny, over-emotional response, which is like a feminized response against a feminized response. It's like, who's the more feminine here? What I did was I said very cool and calmly, I said, hey, you are being very rude and this is unacceptable. I simply need to know what time you're leaving for this reason. And she later apologized to me. She's like, I'm sorry, I was being rude to you. Just, I was stressed out, whatever. So it's like, okay, there's understanding. And what I found is that several years ago, when I started shifting more into this, like holding my boundaries, not putting up with bullshit, calling it out, but in a cool, grounded way, it elicits a very different response than the two ways I used to navigate with that in the past, which number one, we're just kind of shutting down, letting people walk over me, be like, okay, I'm sorry, you're right. That's not very attractive. And it's kind of training the partner to say, oh, I can get away with anything. If I just belittle him, if I insult him, if I nag him, he's gonna shrink down, so I'm in control. I think that subconsciously, it's also this sort of instinctual pattern women have to test the man. Does he have a backbone? Does he have a spine? Because if he backs down when I'm nagging him, he's probably gonna back down if there's a physical danger to us, as a protector, as a leader of maybe our family, whatever. It's the simple way of seeing, is this man strong or not? I think it's really a primal pattern that women are constantly enacting. They'll be testing you all the time. The other way I would have reacted to that in the past, again, is just a similar way to how I did react, but with emotionally, me getting nagging, well, you're being so mean, and don't do that, you know what I mean? Where it's emotional, it's nagging, yeah, you're standing up for yourself, but it's coming from that feminized catty sort of way. So challenge your partner. When they're, arguing with you, when they're trying to belittle you in some way, you challenge them in a very cool, grounded way. You hold your ground. And it does create a tension. It creates a tension because there's now this conflict between you. And again, I personally used to avoid conflicts at all costs. I see how a lot of men do. They'll immediately back down. I'm sorry, you're right. There's no opportunity for friction. It's just immediately neutralized in a very unmasculine way. So it's not a bad thing to have some conflict in your relationships. And I think that if there's zero conflict in any way in your relationship, something's probably off, and I would guess that often it relates to sex becoming a lot less interesting as well. It's not to say that you should be in these nasty arguments all the time. I think we all have the friends where it's they're just constantly going at it with their partner. I don't think that that's healthy either, but just being aware of there should be some kind of tension in your relationship, and how are you creating that? So I want to give you some very practical examples of how you can create more tension in your relationship. One of the most simple things is directness. And as I mentioned before, if you're if you're dating, meeting women, just being direct. Hey, I'm not gonna lie, I find you very attractive and I'd like to spend more time with you. It's direct. They'll either be flattered, that was kind of a bold thing for him to say, or they'll be okay, I appreciate it, but it's not mutual, I'm not into you. And you'll know right away. Fantastic. The directness is great. And directness in your relationship. I'm feeling like an animal today, baby. When you have some free time, I want to take you in the bedroom and rip your clothes off. Something like that. And it's not not putting any pressure behind it necessarily. Just being hey, this is where I'm at. I'm being very real, very direct. And especially if that's something you don't usually do. It's going to be a whole different dynamic for your partner. Whoa, this is different. Or just, what you're wearing today makes me want to just take it off, baby. Something like that. And teasing can be great as well. Approaching the right way. Almost I don't know if playful insult is the right word, but just for example, if a partner's really upset, they're really over emotional, just finding a way to make a bit of fun. It's kind of hard for me to give exact examples because it's become a spontaneous thing for me. I can think of one time in particular where my wife came home, we're both in the kitchen, and she was saying something to me, and I just said, shut up and get on the couch or something like that. And I have to say here that it's not something I could do all the time. I've done it other times and it wasn't the right thing to say, you know what I mean? But I think there was a certain reading of the situation. I could tell she was in a lighter mood. There was a playfulness behind it, and it was just communicated just right, and it actually turned her on, you know what I mean? So something to think about as well. Commanding invitations. This is a part of directness. And what I was talking about before, just being very direct. I want you to do this. Maybe it's in dating, it's I want you to join me to tomorrow evening at 6, we're gonna go out to dinner and then do something fun. It'll be a surprise. Same thing with date nights with your partner, a long-term relationship. What I like to do is like plan a night for us. Like Friday night, I will tell my wife, hey, be ready by 6 p.m., put on your sexiest black dress, and we're gonna have a night of some fun things I have planned. It'll be a surprise. So think of some fun things to do, you know? Another big thing here that builds tension is to have a life. Like, don't just be at home all the time. Definitely, you know, if you're at home playing video games, just like dicking around on the couch, doing nothing, like it can become pathetic after a while. Like, let's face it, you know, women want a man who has a bit of mystery to them. Like, if they're wondering, like, what is he actually up to right now? You know, it can kind of turn them on, because inevitably it puts them in the feeling of like, what if he's seeing someone else? Which brings me to an interesting point that I have to have a certain nuance with. Jealousy can be a very powerful attraction builder when it comes to women. And again, there's a caveat here. I'm not saying like go flirt with other women, things like that. That can become very unhelpful and toxic and create serious complications in your relationship. It's not something that I do myself. But in my relationship with my wife several years ago when she was my girlfriend, we had a short breakup. And during that period, she actually had the most sexual urgency towards me that I've ever experienced in her, for the most part, and for a while after that as well. And we've even talked about that. And she's told me that like when she's not sure that I'm hers, that she actually desires me more. And I think that that's a very true thing for a lot of women. And again, I'm not saying like go out and like cheat on your partner, like be flirting with other girls and things like that. I don't think that that's a good idea. But when you create a bit of mystery, when you like, again, you have a life, go on trips by yourself, go hang out with guys, go do things, like be gone for a night, you know? It helps remind them that you are a free being and that you're doing cool shit with your life. Women want a man who's like doing things out in the world, not just sitting on the couch playing video games. And I guarantee if you implement more of that, like getting out, you know, not just like constantly checking in, I'm okay, honey, I'm just here, you know, like turn off your phone for a while, just like live your life. And if she has a problem with it, you know, that's her problem. Fortunately, you know, my wife and I, we're very understanding that we're adventurous people and we like to go do our own thing. And we also have certain boundaries and things that we know we expect of the other person when we're away on relationships. So it's like there's a trust there, obviously. So distance can also create friction. Again, if you're just around your partner 24/7, go out, take some time away. And then one of the final things here, what is also, I think, extremely relevant is don't initiate sex in the exact same way every time. Notice what your go-to is. Think to like your recent sexual experiences and ask yourself, how can I change it up a little bit? Okay? Break your habit, because anything that becomes familiar, over habitual, becomes boring, ultimately. Have fun with foreplay. Foreplay is a great chance to like create a lot of tension. Even everything leading up to sex, like the whole day could be foreplay. Like I mentioned before, like dropping little innuendos, telling your partner just like, oh, this is what looking at you in that outfit does to me. Things like that, like text messages, subtle little things throughout the day. Creating a buildup. I think the tendency for a lot of men is like, especially once you get into a familiar relationship, it's like, okay, whatever, we don't need this bullshit anymore, just have sex with me. Come on, just have sex with me right now. and those guys will be fine with that for the most part, but women need a bit more buildup. They need more preparation. They need to get into the zone. They're not ready in 5 seconds like most men are. Enjoy foreplay. See it as an opportunity to just like explore the body. Like, ooh, this is, you know, touching, caressing, kissing, whatever. Teasing a little bit, not just going right for the genitals, like create a little, like, oh, you want that, don't you? But nope, not yet. Even like denying a woman an orgasm, like that could be a very powerful thing to play with as well. So teasing and like creating more of a, like you're the one in control. Whenever that's a dynamic, you're the one in control, and I don't know if I'm gonna do that for you today. It creates this powerful power dynamic with your partner. And I know these kinds of things can be very controversial, but the truth is that women want to feel a man that is in control. He has strong boundaries. He's not going to put up with bullshit. And he has a life of his own, because when they feel that in a man, that's when they feel they are safe to surrender and let go. So there it is. Get more comfortable building tension. See how can you build tension in many different aspects of your relationship, your daily interactions, your sex life, just many different ways you can create tension. And it's a practice, it's cultivation, because we tend to just get into habits and ruts with things, and that's why relationships fail. Is things get boring, they get monotonous, and people, they either turn to drugs and porn, you know, as something, or like, well, we just need to be in an open relationship, because then you're having the constant sexual tension of a new person all the time. But is that really the answer? It's not for me. No judgments, like whatever you want to do is fine, but I don't know anyone who's been in an open relationship where there wasn't a lot of, you know, complete disaster involved within it, you know what I mean? So hope that's helpful. if you guys want to see more content like this about stepping in your masculine, creating polarity and sexual tension, let me know in the comments below. Again, make sure you get my free ejaculation control ebook so that you've got techniques to master your ejaculation control in the bedroom. Give this video a like, and best wishes out there, my friends. Take care.